Talk TTMT Stayers, it's Liza, and it is Thursday, August the 6th, and I know it's been forever since I've made a video. Long story short, as you can probably tell behind me, for those of you who have seen my videos before, I'm in a new location. A lot of things have happened in about the past year. I'm no longer in Colorado, I live in Kentucky. Long story short, I went through a health scare, I went through a really bad breakup, I discovered I could no longer afford to live in Colorado, I moved home with my parents, I had all of my craft things in storage and no space to be able to put it in, I had to find a new job, I am now in a new space that is borrowed space from my parents, that is not a permanent crafting space, so I only have some of my supplies, and because it's also the dining room, I have to be able to put things away so that we can eat dinner in here. So lots of changes. So a lot of, because I am in this borrowed space, because I don't have all of my craft things with me, when I got a card order at the beginning of the year when I first moved, it was a card order for well over 100 cards. And apparently Luna is just gonna run around and make a lot of noise in this video, so I'm sorry. She wants her presence to be known. But when I got that card order at the beginning of the year, I had just moved, I didn't have any of my craft things with me. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do the order at all. I threw around the idea of telling the client, who's been a longtime client of mine, that I couldn't do it. My family, on the other hand, said, no, you need to do it. You enjoy crafting, we'll find a way for you to be able to do this. And so my parents cleaned off a small end of the table, basically, in the dining room space for me to bring a few of my craft bins up here that have my card making supplies in them. And so I was able to complete that order. So that I seem to be making a lot of cards, which is good and bad. I enjoy making cards. I wish I could be sewing more though. Let me show you some of the things that I have done and talk about some of the things that I have done. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of cards lately. So on top of the card order that I did, I've been making a few personal cards as well and posting them up on my Etsy site for sale, just because I'm still trying to make a few extra bucks by doing that. So right now this is a set of 9 Get Well cards that I made recently using something called Brusho watercolors. Brusho pigment powders, not watercolors, they're pigment powders. And basically what they are, they're kind of like a chalk. They're really interesting. They're really popular in the UK right now. And they haven't really hit the US yet. And I heard about them and I said, those are really cool, I want to play with those. So I bought some, and they can be used like watercolors. You can take the powder, put it in a palette, rehydrate it, and it turns it into a nice watercolor. Or you can use the powders and do like really cool effects with them, because if you spray water on them, they kind of explode and do like a firework type effect. So I've been playing around with those and having a lot of fun playing with those. So these are the cards that I have made. These say Stuck on You, and they have a picture of a bandage on them. And they're all, it's 3 sets of 3, and they're all similar, obviously, because these pigment powders, when you spray them with water, do something different every time. They don't look identical, but they're all the same type of layout, same colors, just slightly different from each other. I'm going to hold this one from the top so that you can see it better. These say Take Good Care and have a picture of a tissue box. And these 3 say Under the Weather and have a picture of an umbrella. And these are slightly different because I colored the umbrella a little bit different, the hearts on the umbrella a little bit different for each one. But there are those. So these are really cool watercolor powders, pigment powders, whatever they're called, that I can't wait to do a little bit more playing with, because they're really fascinating to me. They're not like anything else that I've ever used before. And if you've watched my videos in the past, you know that I like painting. You also know that I enjoy card making. So these powders are really interesting because I can combine both of those a little bit more than I have with other mediums before. So it's kind of cool. I also made a set of 5 cards that are again similar, just slightly different from each other. And these are what those look like. They all have the same hello sentiment on them, and they all have the same diagonal, that's washi tape that I used, so if you know anything about washi tape. So they all have the same diagonal washi tape pattern, but it's different tapes for each one. So those were just a quick project I did one night while I was watching a movie, basically. So there are those, and then there are the card orders that I did, and I'm sure I've done more cards than in the past year than I'm showing you. But like I said, with over a year's worth of stuff about a year's worth of stuff to show you guys, I'm just not going to remember it all. Other than cards, I have done a little bit of sewing. Not a lot, like I said. One of the good things about being back in Kentucky is one of my best friends had her baby in June. I made her a diaper bag. I didn't like the way that the diaper bag turned out. This pattern had raw, unfinished edges on the inside, and to me, that's number one, not very professional looking, and number two, for a diaper bag that's supposed to be able to fold out so you can use it as a changing pad as well, you don't want raw, unfinished edges on a place where you're going to lay your baby down to change their diaper. So that, I just didn't like it. I gave it to her anyways, because she had the baby and I had just finished it and I wanted to give her something. But I told her I'm going to work on the pattern and make her another one because that just made me really unhappy. I did make another diaper bag, a different pattern that I just kind of created. I've made so many messenger bags at this point in time that I've kind of created my own way of making messenger bags. And so I created a messenger bag style diaper bag for her husband. And the diaper bag I made for him was a Star Wars themed diaper bag. So I bought some Star Wars fabric. On Fandom In Stitches, I used the R2-D2 pattern and created an R2-D2 for the front flap of the diaper bag. And gave that to him. I made a few extra pockets in it that I normally wouldn't have in a messenger bag. Gave it to him. Within 10 seconds of me giving it to him, he was already packing it up and using it. He was so excited about it. He loved it. So I was really glad that he enjoyed that. I've made a few things. I've also made for myself. I've made this known before. I'm not a seamstress. For some reason, making clothing does not work for me. I think probably because you really do need to use a pattern to make clothing, and I hate using patterns. But I had an old pair of jeans actually I have 3 old pair of jeans that when I moved here, I loved these jeans. I've had them since college. They were worn in, they were perfectly comfortable, and I loved them. But I had had them all for about 9 years. I had them for a long time. And so they were getting pretty worn, and I finally wore through the denim, and they all had holes in very inconvenient places. So I didn't want to just throw these jeans away because being a crafter, I see the denim and I go, I can do things with that. So basically I thought I'd seen on Pinterest, which is very dangerous, somebody who had taken an old pair of jeans and created a skirt with it. And I went, well, I can do that. So I took my old jeans and I cut off the legs of the jeans And then I added some pretty fabric to the bottom. In theory, this is really nice. On my body, it looks horrible. I think it's just a matter of, I cut it right below the back pockets because I wanted to keep the pockets. And I think it just comes down a little bit too low. I think had I cut it right below the front pockets and left it, it would be fine. But as a result, because of where this break happens between the fabric and the denim, it's just not the most flattering on me. So finally, the last thing I have to show for you is a friend of mine here works for an organization called Mary Hurst of Louisville. Mary Hurst takes in foster kids that have been in really rough situations and have either been told by the state or, well, basically they've been told by the state that they have to live with Mary Hurst, be in this situation with them, because these are the kids of last resort. If you know anything about the foster care system, you know that kids are unfortunately rated on a scale from 0 to 5. These are kids that are anywhere from a 3 to a 5 on that scale. So these are the kids that probably won't get adopted in their life. So it's a sad situation. They've jumped from foster home to foster home for various reasons. And she did a 31 fundraiser where she was asking people, rather than buying things so that she could earn the host credits and purchase 31 products for herself, she wanted people to purchase certain types of bags that she could then donate to Mary Hurst to give to these kids to carry their belongings around in. She said a lot of times kids come into their foster care system carrying what few belongings that they have in trash bags. And that broke my heart, because that is both literally and figuratively telling kids that they are trash. And I do not believe that any child is trash for any reason. And so that broke my heart. At the time, I was still unemployed. I had just moved back to town. I didn't have money to be able to purchase any bags. So I called her up and I said, listen, my situation, I can't help financially with this, but I do have all of this scrap fabric laying around that I'm tired of moving with because I never know what to do with it. How about I make a few bags for you to give to these kids? And she said, oh, that would be perfect. So I've already given her one bag that she has told me she has donated already to a kid. And the child loved it. The child loved this. She had her own bag to carry her own things in. So that was really exciting. I've created this second one for her, just haven't seen her to give it to her yet. So this is the second bag. It's just a real simple, nothing special bag, but I used some Batman remnant fabric that I found at Joann's, some scrap fabric here on the bottom that I even had to piece together to create a bottom for it, and just plain muslin on the inside, some leftover foam just to go around it to give it some stability, and then some handles. And I didn't use a pattern or anything, just created a bag. That's basically what I've been doing, is I've been creating as big or as small a bags as I can, based off of how much fabric I have. They have kids from toddler to teenager there, so different size bags, different kids, different things for them. And I've already told her this is something I'm going to continue doing for them. I can whip these bags up in a day or two, which is great. And I would rather donate these bags to these kids than have this fabric sitting around that I'm saving for the perfect project to use it in, and that perfect project may never happen. I would rather help a child not be treated like trash. So I've been making all of those bags. I also want to encourage you guys. You know, I know a lot of us do Project Linus or the Linus Connection or create blankets for blanket charities and such, and those are wonderful. But I encourage you to find someplace local to donate your time and talents to as well. I think it's important for you to have some form of local connection as well, and this has been something that for me has been hugely beneficial for me, because it has reminded me that through all of the hardships that I have had, I've always had a family there to back me, and not all of these people do have families. Not everybody does have a family that supports them and that cares about them. So if for no other reason, I'm glad I came back to Kentucky to be able to make these bags for these kids, even though it's been hard for me. Anywho, I'm getting all teary-eyed and emotional, and yeah, anywho. But so that's kind of all I have to show you guys. If I find anything else, because I take pictures of a lot of my projects, if I find any pictures of anything I've made over the past few months, I will post those pictures so you guys can see them. I will see you guys next time I am making a video. Bye!